Do you see me in actions? Tell me why would I try to test my luck and make it back for myself? And tell me why would I ever give you all the things Yesterday we talked about, do you care, right? Do you care about your partner? It's a subject very close to my heart because if you don't care, you're not going to do anything to please your partner, right? So sexual function is about being able to test and see if you really can function, right? But how will you function if you're not at your optimal best, right? Today, we're going to talk about sex appeal, which is a spin-off from do you care, right? Because if you care, you're going to focus on your sex appeal. Sex appeal. Okay? It's a sexual attraction that you emanate, right? You exude it. You sort of like show it off. For those that want to show it off. But for those that don't, they don't have sex appeal. They don't have any sex appeal. They just don't care to have sex appeal. So I want us to sort of like analyze and evaluate our sex appeal, right? We go back to the caveman days, right? Sex appeal wasn't as important, right? Probably procreation was more important, but now sex appeal is more important. We have different sex appeals, right? Meaning we appeal to people differently, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And everyone's sexual map, which I love to talk about, is different. So what might appeal to you sexually might not appeal to someone else, right? But it doesn't really matter because we only need one person, right? Generally one person to appeal to us to make us happy and to settle down with, right? That's the monogamy picture. And when we're looking for someone, we are looking for someone that we can be attracted to, not only physically, but of course spiritually, right? And you want to fall in love, you want to have that great experience of that emotional love. At the same time, you want to be partners. You want to be, if I use the word equal, that's a tough word because I really don't think equal is the point here because we're different, right? Men and women are different. So the question I have is, do you care about your sexual appeal, your sex appeal? I want you to look at your sex appeal as 5 senses, right? Okay, love my 5 senses. Visual, auditory, vocal, nasal, the smell, and the most important, touch. Okay? So if you care about your partner, you're going to actually have these 5 senses attended to, right? Let's talk about my favorite one, touch. Touch is so important for some people, right? So to be able to touch someone sends so many signals, so many messages. And yet, we don't touch. We don't hug. Our partners. I'm not saying hug, touch everyone. I'm saying our partners with consent. And what I mean by consent, implied consent, right? When you have that ability to touch, caress, hold, guide, that is a subtle sign, a subtle message to your partner that you are interested, right? And also that you're confident, that you are not scared to express your feelings for the partner, right? For your partner. And if you are scared of touching, we can sense that, right? Both people can sense that, right? You're hesitant, you're uncomfortable. So it is crucial that you are comfortable with touching, all right? Now, I tell people, if you don't know how to touch, during my counseling sessions, learn how to touch and hug yourself, right? And touching yourself goes into so many different ways, right? You can touch yourself in a friendly way, you can touch yourself in an erotic way. And I think the more you touch yourself in an erotic way, the more familiar you're going to be with your sensuality, right? And more confident you're going to be when you're with someone else. So, yes, the word masturbation comes to mind, and that is touching also, right? Masturbation is important, it is natural. We're all born to masturbate, we're all going to masturbate. But the key is, are you okay with it? And I'm going to encourage you to talk to your partner if that's an issue, masturbation, and open up about the fact that you do or don't, and see what reasons there are for that. And if you can, resolve it between the two of you. All right. So it's not my business to come in there and tell you what it should be, but I want you to know it's okay if you do. Okay. So touch is very important in your sensuality. It's important in your sex appeal. Why? Because when you touch someone, it's almost like an electric charge, right? The other person can feel it, and depending on their state of mind, they can go berserk with it, right? Especially when you take it back to the bedroom. But right now, we're talking about sex appeal, which is something that you will see someone and then decide whether that person has that sexual attractiveness to you or not, just by touch. Remember, this is the time of the Me Too movement. You do not want to touch inappropriately, right? So be careful when you're touching, make sure it's consensual. And if you're not sure, don't touch, right? But there are times that you go somewhere that you want to explore and you want to touch gently, right? A hand around the shoulder, a hand around the lower back, nothing lower. That's going to be inappropriate for a lot of women and a lot of men, right? Unless, of course, you're well into the relationship. But again, that sex appeal is something that you see at first. And even touching yourself, being able to rub your skin, your knee, your legs, anywhere, and sort of give a signal of confidence, right? So it's very important for the women and for the men to be able to touch themselves. Well, now when I say that, I mean, depending where you are, appropriately, right? So you see me sometimes, I'll be, putting my hands on my chin, I'll rub my neck, I'll play with my hair. Again, these are signs that will sometimes make someone think, is she flirting with me? And the truth is, sometimes I'm really just thinking, and I use my hair and I twirl my hair, or I'm thinking in that position, that posture of thinking. But regardless, I'm free to express myself, and I want you to learn how to express yourself also, okay? In terms of being able to be touched without cringing, and to touch without having any fear of being afraid to touch, okay? So that's one of my favorite senses. I've got a lot more to talk about later on because that can be affected by your medical condition, right? So we'll go into that in the future. Depending on what medical condition you have, it can affect your feeling, your sensation. You might not even like to be touched. I've heard patients say, "Oh, I don't want to be touched at all." So there are conditions where you could be in pain. So you want to make sure that the person's not in pain. And if the person's in pain, you're very gentle and you try to assess the degree or the amount of touching the person wants, right? So touching is crucial. It's a way of communicating love, but it's also a way of showing confidence that you're not afraid of being touched or touching, okay? All right, my next favorite one, of course, is looks, okay? So sex appeal really starts with looks, right? It implants that visual impression onto the brain, and the brain sends it through the body, and all sorts of different things happen in terms of interpretation of that look. Now we all know that books, right? You can't tell a book by its cover, so you got to be careful. You cannot tell a person by its cover. So remember, this is my own personal opinion. This is not something that's going to be, studied or put into textbooks. It's more an observation that I've had over the years of my practice. And you'll see that when you're looking, you'll be able to see some things, but then you can't see everything, right? So you want to be aware that what you're seeing is not real. Very important. But it's the start. So you've got to explore what you're seeing. Is the person of a great character? Does the person have a bad energy, right? So it's not just looking in terms of what you see, but it's looking in terms of what the person again emanates, the energy, the aura, the calm, the peace, the trouble, the badness, the goodness. You want to be able to assess whether that person, without even talking to the person, has that again look that you want. Okay, because that look that you want again is unique to each person, and you want to find out what sort of look you like, right? Some people like, you know, the big women, big men, right? Some people like the skinny, the slim, the in between, the strong, the powerful, the muscular, the not muscular. Again, the dark, the light, the in between. Um, Again, the breasts, the butt, the legs, the face, the smile, the teeth, right? The hair. You really want to make sure that you're taking care of your looks, right? You're grooming, you're making sure that you look the best that you can be. And I'm saying not all the time, but a lot of the time, right? You want to be able to assess when you should not be wearing all this makeup. This makeup drives me nuts because we all see those before and after makeup things. And I'm like, I know that we love makeup, but please, there is a time for makeup and there's a time for no makeup, right? Um, you have to assess that and you have to know your partner. Does your partner like makeup? Um, does your partner want you to wear makeup? And, you know, if he doesn't, just dial it back, right? We can go on into tattoos, into piercings. I'm big into piercings, right? Does your partner like it? Does your partner love it? Does your partner not like it? Does your partner so about it? Again, what you do, I would say your partner should be involved with it, but sometimes you have to have some sort of compromise with your partner. Okay, baby, I want to do this, I want to do that. What do you think? He says, you can do this, you can do that, but then you have to sort of like come to some resolution where you both can agree on that look, right? And we can go deep into how many piercings and where the piercings can be, but the truth is you have to know what you want and sort of with your partner figure out what they would like or not like, so that it's a fair exchange of give and take. I'm big into give and take, right? You give some stuff and you take some stuff, and he gives some stuff and he takes some stuff, right? So it's important for you to know that looks is well beyond what you see. It's also what the person is again emanating and what the person is signaling to you. Again, bad guy, good girl, bad girl. You know, again, I really like women and men to be a little bit more professional when it's time to be professional. And then you can go down and be as creative as you want to be when you're going out to different functions. But again, communicate with your partner and know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate so that you can actually have a great rapport and a great relationship in terms of trust and being comfortable with what one decides to look like, especially as you get to know each other. But that unique look you've got to develop. Okay, you've got to be able to have your own comfort in terms of what you want to look like. And if someone doesn't like it, you can tell the person to take a hike, depending again on what you want from that person. So let's say you're really interested in that person and you really want to get that person into your life, right? You want to have a relationship with that person. So you're going to sort of like be willing to modulate and change your appearance. Absolutely. I don't believe in being you all the time, right? You have to be willing to improve and negotiate a better you with your partner. So it's two ways, right? You want to be a better you, they want you to be a better you, and you both learn how to be a better you. And it's a back and forth thing, especially when it comes to looks, right? Those short skirts that we want to wear, sometimes they don't want us to wear it, and we have to sometimes compromise and say, okay, we're not going to wear it. But sometimes we want to wear it, right? But then again, that is where you have to communicate with your partner and know whether that's okay, depending on the time of the occasion, right? Time of the day, where you're going, and who you're going with, right? All right, so that's looks, right? Hearing, right? Auditory. I love auditory because the voice is very important for me. So for you, you're going to notice that some voices are a turnoff, right? But it's not only the voice, the voice or the tone. It's also what they're saying. Are they making jokes that are very inappropriate, right? Are they making jokes that are witty? Are they saying thank you and please? Do they really respect your voice when you're talking? So when you're talking, are they hearing you? You can actually hear based on what the person says back to you, whether they're actually listening to you, right? So our senses are very important when we're engaging in that sexual attraction or that sex appeal, because that person is communicating with you by words and by voice, and you've got to listen to the words, right? A friend of mine said, eyes, ears, open, mouth shut. And when they said it to me, I was really upset. I'm like, what do you mean? I should shut my mouth? What? I talk too much? And the answer was, yes, I talk too much. So I learned from the relationship, you can't talk too much. Why? Because it's not all about me, right? I thought it was all about me, but I was wrong. It's not all about me. It's also about them. So you've got to give and take. So again, I'm going to say it again. Eyes, ears, open, mouth shut. Meaning you listen and you watch and you observe the crowd. You observe where you are. And not always be first to talk. Sometimes just lay back and just listen and smile. And when it's time to talk, you can talk. But if you want to be the life of the party, there's a time for that too, right? The important thing is when you're listening, you've got to listen with earnest and you've got to pick up messages that you might be missing, right? I always believe that actions speak louder than words, right? So when you're seeing and hearing things, you've got to be careful that you are actually non-verbal cueing the person, which means you're seeing cues that you don't really normally look at. You've got to learn to look at non-verbal cues. Otherwise, you're going to miss some of the messages that they're saying between the lines, between their words, all right? So learning to hear something and hear the true meaning is key in terms of sexual attraction, because you want to know what to say in terms of your voice, and you also want to know whether what you're hearing is appealing to you. So to do that, you got to read between the lines or hear between the lines, right? So that's where I like to go with the hearing. The pitch is very important. The choice of words, the vocabulary might be something important to you. And then again, it might not be, right? The level of education you can tell sometimes by how they talk, but I don't think that's important. I think there are more important things in terms of the true character of the person, right? And whether the person has good intentions. And you can tell sometimes by listening to them, but you got to sometimes test it and make sure that that's not just words to get you in their bed, right? So you want to be able to know, are those words genuine, right? And it's hard to tell, but you've got to be astute. You've got to be really on your toes, and you have to be able to remember, right? Remember what they are saying so that you can, put it together later on and say, is he jiving you or is he really being honest and truthful? So hearing, again, is crucial in sex appeal. And that way, that hearing is going to be able to allow you to feel sexual when that person is actually communicating with you in a way that you like, right? I mean, you don't like it, you walk away, okay? All right, smell. Oof. Right? So smell. I like natural smells. I like, cologne, I like perfume, but the natural smell tells you what they're eating. Okay? So if someone drinks a lot of alcohol, you're gonna get a lot of alcoholic breath and that smell of I'm gonna say an acid smell or a ketone smell, right? So don't drink too much alcohol, basically, right? You do not want to go walking around with this alcohol breath or this smell of activities like not having a shower that people can actually tell, or too much perfume, right? Or too much cologne. You want to be able to be natural a lot of the times and not overpower one's senses with that smell of cologne, right? Or sprays. So you want to be more natural. What do I mean? Sometimes you don't wear any cologne, right? Just a good, deodorant that will help take care of any perspiration, right? Any odor from there. But the truth is that what you're eating is what is coming out of your pores and what you're sweating out of your body. So if you're eating a lot of meat, you're going to get a lot of that smell of bacteria and organisms. If you eat less meat, you're going to get a cleaner smell. Okay. Now, I know my men love meat and I know my women love meat. So if you're going to eat meat, grass fed, please, it's healthier. I'm not going to say organic, but it's healthier. And try and make sure that it's not full of hormones and additives and things that should not be in our system, because we do get exposed to that, right? GMO and all that. So be aware that you're looking for what you're eating and what you're drinking. You drink a lot of sugar, you're going to get that, again, that acidic smell, that smell from even feeding fungus, right? So the more sugar you eat, the more fungus you're going to have in your body, right? You're going to get yeast infections, right? You're going to get thrush. You're going to get rashes. You're going to get, again, those we call intertrigo, which is lines of fungus that you really should not have, right? Athlete's foot, right? That's an immune issue that sugar can affect. So you do not want to have so much sugar in your system, because it really does destroy your immune system, right? And causes disease. So in terms of smell, clean up the diet, stop the bacon, stop the sausage. All that stuff is going to block your heart and block your sexual function. So please stop the sausages and bacon slowly. Wean yourself off of it. I tell my patients, always wean yourself off of it slowly, because you want to get that clean circulation, that clean smell, that when people actually come near you, we're not going to be turned off. Okay? Very important. What you eat, what you drink can really come out of your pores. So be careful, so that people around you are not turned off. Next, the voice, right? So your verbal, we said touch, we said auditory, we said vision, and the last one I think was verbal. I think I did verbal already. Verbal is the same thing, right? So the auditory, you can actually listen to someone talking. I guess those two were covered in that conversation, right? Where you'll talk and someone can hear you and actually judge you by your voice, right? So I'm going to say auditory and visual are basically one and the same, right? There is a sixth sense, right? And the sixth sense is the intuition. I'm big in intuition, right? Sexual appeal sometimes is intuitive, right? You don't really know whether the person is who the person is, but you've got to fall on rely on your intuition, your sixth sense. And what I mean by that is, someone can overwhelm you with love and overwhelm you with attention, but you have to know, is that genuine? And your sixth sense will tell you that. Okay? So how do you develop a sixth sense? Again, you got to be healthy, right? You got to have that physical. Make sure that you have no heart problems, no diabetes, no hypertension, no autoimmune diseases, no cancer, no hormonal imbalances. I'm big into balancing those hormones, getting those hormones checked, because those hormones are going to tell you whether you are going to be able to procreate, right? You want to make sure that you've got good hormone levels. You want to have that energy, and without that energy, you can't really go forward. You can't work. You can't live and love life and just enjoy, your partner. So you need to get that energy. So when you see somebody, even the way they walk, right? If they don't have a good brisk walk, you're going to get that impression of illness, and you've got to be aware of that, right? If they're sluggish and they're not on it, right? You talk to them and they're forgetting things and they're just not themselves, or they're behaving like they're old and they're like sick. You've got to not ignore those signals, because that is going to tell you about their sex appeal and about their history and what's going on behind closed doors. So don't ignore your sixth sense, which is being able to know instinctively, right? Your spidey sense, whether someone is for you or not for you. Okay, so that is my sixth final sense of trying to find out whether you have sex appeal, whether you want sex appeal, and if you do, address those six senses and make sure that you're working on them, right? Make sure that you are actually working on the touch, right? The looks, how you dress, how you talk, so that one hears you, they can hear good words and good advice, right? Common sense, really very important. And those words that come out, you want it to be, of course, pleasurable. You want it to sound calming. You don't want it to be all over the place, wild and just um, not appropriate, right? You want to make sure that you are appropriate and that you are communicating well with your partner and being honest and being truthful, right? And then smell. Make sure that you know get that good shower and make sure that you're eating well so that your smells come out much cleaner. And then touch, which is one of my favorite. Make sure you touch your partner, touch yourself, learn how to love yourself so you can love somebody else. Because if you can't love yourself, there's no way you can love anybody else, right? So learn about love, and hopefully your sex appeal will get better with time and with practice. Okay? All right. That's it for me tonight. See you tomorrow.